Hey folks, Lens here, also known as Audible Agent for 44 Delta. We are here today to talk about the Sangra EZ pick handles. These pick handles are specifically designed for Multipick and Southern Specialties, and they will work for the 0.5 millimeter and 0.6 millimeter multi-picks specifically, and for Southern Specialties, the 16 thousandths, 20 thousandths, and 25 thousandths. So when you get your Sangra EZ, you're going to probably want to have a couple tools handy. I suggest having some needle nose pliers. It will come with 6 magnets, probably a couple more because I like to include extras. And that should be mostly what you need for assembly because it's fairly straightforward. But there's some things I want to discuss about how these handles are different than previous handles. First of all, you might recognize this general shape and design. This looks very similar to the Summit handles, which were designed for covert instruments. They are almost exactly the same shape, and ideally I would have been able to use the exact same design. However, Southern Specialties and Multipicks have a slightly different length, which meant a redesign. So when you get your handles, you're going to take them apart, and I'd like to quickly identify a few features of these pick handles. First, you're going to see a couple new things here. You're going to see these built-in shims, and we'll talk more about those in a second. Also, something that's different from previous designs, there's a split tailpiece here, which is floating and designed to flex. All of these things have to do with better fitment, but take your pick handles, pull them apart, and the first thing you should do is remove these printed in place shims. So it shouldn't take much effort. In fact, I should be able to do this with my fingernail. So there you go, there's the first one. If they're a little bit stickier, grab some needle nose pliers and gently rock it out of place and set it aside. We may or may not need those in a minute. Same thing on the other half. Remove the print in place shims, set them aside. Okay, so the very next step after we set these aside, but don't lose them, is we need to install the magnets. And if you've ever installed any of the magnets in previous handle designs, you'll know this is fairly straightforward. Just start by grabbing one of your magnets, and I choose to put it in any orientation in the center. Okay, that is going to be our reference magnet from now on. So with that magnet in place, grab another one. With the first magnet facing you, drop the second one on it. That should orient it properly. And then I'm going to slide it down and lock it into position in the second location. And then there's a third location. So repeat that, flip it around, slide that magnet down, making sure it doesn't flip over. And we have one half of the pair of handles assembled with magnets. So the next step is flip that handle over, grab another magnet, this time drop it on the outside. What we're going to do is transfer this magnet over with the second half of the handle facing up, with the inside facing up. So I'm going to slide this off. I'm not going to flip the magnet over. I want to keep it in that same orientation. Put it in the middle. And then from that point forward, we can repeat the same way we did with the first handle. Drop a magnet on there, slide it down into position, and lock it in place. Got one more here. And we're going to slide that one down. If they'll give up the ghost. There we go. Okay. We now have the magnets assembled in the handles, and these will go together just like all previous handles. However, this is where things differ a little bit from previous designs. Now, I said I've got a 0.5 millimeter, 0.6 millimeter, 16 thou, 20 thou, and 25 thou. These are all different thicknesses. And these handles are designed to work with all of these different thicknesses and have little to no play whatsoever. But the only way that can be accomplished is through the use of shims. And historically, I would have you guys, tape up your picks with like clear tape, or just include some pieces of paper to try to get a perfect fit. That's a little bit different now. So I'll show you what I do. So 0.5 millimeter is a relatively thin pick. And when I assemble it without using the provided shims, it seats in there nicely, feels secure, like it's not moving side to side or forward and back. But where there will be play is in this direction. You can probably hear that free play. That is not really something you want when you're picking a lock, especially if you're having to kind of rotate and get around corners. So that's where these shims come into play. So what you're going to do is grab one of these shims, and there's a little circle printed into it to indicate the direction this should go relative to the pick body, sorry, the pick handle body. This, if you have the handle with the insides facing you, then that little circle should also be facing you. And all you're going to do is plop it in that little track and slide it into place. And we're going to do that up here as well. Now we've done that on one side, and we're just going to leave it like that for the time being because we're going to do another test fit. So again, we've got the 0.5 millimeter. Going to put that in place, reassemble this pick, and then I'm going to test again for play. And that feels pretty good to me. I'm not really feeling any free play there. If I were, then I would take these other shims and I would install them on the other side. Reassemble, and then see how the fit is. It should be pretty good at that point because that's what this is designed to do. So, you know, like I said, this was the 0.5 millimeter. This is a fairly thin pick. What about the thickest one I have here, or close to the thickest, 25 thou? That one is probably going to work just fine without any shims. So if I take this 25 thou, slap that in there, there's no free play whatsoever. So for the larger sizes, you likely won't need to use the shims at all. But you know, you have the option. So the options are really no shims whatsoever, do a pair of shims on one handle half, or use all 4 shims on both sides. With that combination, you should be able to get a good fit for all of these different sizes, which is what makes these so versatile. And there's one other thing I wanted to call attention to, which is, I mentioned this split tail piece down here. Depending on the color filament I use and the brand, the fit on the pick is going to be either really tight or just perfect. That little split tail piece there is designed to flex in and out of the way. So if you get a pick installed in here and you go to close it up and it looks like, you know, this top side is not closing down all the way, which of course in this case it's closing just fine, but if you see like a little gap there, I want you to try to press real hard on there and see if you can get a click out of it. Get a click on both sides, make sure it's, you know, nice and seated properly. If you still can't get it to click in place and get a good seating of the pick handle against the pick, then what I suggest you do is remove your pick, grab another pick, grab like a hook or something, and try to make sure these little floating split pieces are free. They're printed such that they should be about 0.2 millimeter off the floor. But if they're not, just try to slide your pick underneath it just to give it a little bit of free play. Don't apply too much pressure and break them. But then grab your pick again after doing that. Make sure it's well seated on one half first. Grab the second half, start from the bottom, squeeze that into place, apply pressure all the way to the top, and you'll probably hear a click and get it to seat properly. So that's it. These are the Sangra EZ pick handles. There are, I think, as of the time of this video, about 13 different colors to pick from, maybe 14, can't remember. And I hope you like these. I hope it was easy enough for you to install them, and I hope they're a good fit for you and provide the comfort you're probably seeking out of these. That's all. Thank you.